I want to talk about health. Health, because health is the thing that we should all be chasing. And I work with specifically guys over the age of 40, but really I believe we should be chasing it no matter how old we are. And what generally happens is when we get to 40 years or older, that's one of the things that's we become a little bit more aware of, because if we haven't had to think about it before, now that we get older, when we get in our 40s or 50s or 60s or 70s, our 80s or 90s, it becomes much more of a priority, right? We kind of take it for granted when we're younger, but when we get up in age, it's more and more important. So how can we make sure that you're staying as healthful as possible? And what does it mean to be healthy, right? And if we ask 100 people what it means to be healthy, you're probably going to get 100 different answers. There's going to be some carryover, but one of the things that always pops in my head, because I've done this, I've asked a lot of people this question before, and a lot of them are like, well, when you go to the doctor and the doctor says you're good. Okay, that makes sense. I get that, right? But I want to propose a little different idea. I want to propose this idea of health that actually revolves around fitness. Bear with me here. So we're going to give you a little different perspective on health, okay? So fitness, but we have to define fitness as well, because fitness is another one of those things. You ask 100 people, you get 100 different answers. And again, that's really annoying. It literally used to would keep me up at night, because I graduated from college with an exercise science degree. And when I graduated, I didn't know what the fuck fitness was. Everybody had their own definition. How can you be a master of fitness and not even be able to define it? That was a serious problem, right? So we need to figure out what is fitness, and then once we understand really what fitness is, how does that relate to health? And why is it that I think that fitness is the closest relationship that we have to health? So first off, what is fitness? Fitness is work capacity, and I could probably stop there. Your body is built to do work, right? So by just starting with work capacity, what is your capacity to do work? And a very fit person has a high work capacity compared to a person of low fitness, right? So if that makes sense, but it has to be a little bit more than that, because we can all do work. I used to joke, I'd say I had a 96-year-old grandmother. I said, my grandmother, she could, if the task was to go out and run a mile, she could have done it, but it would have taken her probably 2 years. Truth, right? So it's more than just work capacity. Work capacity across broad time, meaning that if we're going to pick a time interval, let's say 2 years, and I challenged my grandmother and I challenged you to go as far as you could, to cover as much distance as you possibly could in 2 years, who's going to have a bigger number? Who's going to be fitter at that task? Probably you, right? Because, my grandmother, she couldn't really run. She could probably do it like that. And then she'd have to walk for a little bit. And then she'd probably have to sit down. It would literally take her 2 years to get through a mile. But for you, you could probably cover, I don't know, how many miles could you cover, right? Depending on how fit you are, depending on what your work capacity was, you could probably cover a ton of mileage in that period of time. And now it's across broad time. So it's not just about the 2 years. It could be about 30 seconds, right? How fast can you run in 30 seconds? It could be about an hour. How fast can you run, or how far can you cover in an hour? And we can test all these different time domains, right? So it has to be, we have to bring that component into it to really define fitness, right? It's not just the marathon runner that's super, super fit. It's not just the sprinter that's super, super fit. We want to be balanced in all of those different time domains. We want to have work capacity, high work capacity in all of the time domains. Hopefully that makes sense, okay? But we have to go even another step further, okay? Because even this is missing out. I've been using running as an example, but what about all of the other physical activities that are available to us in our lives? As human beings, we have an infinite number of ways we can manipulate and move and do work in this world, right? So it's not just time. Time is part of the equation, but work capacity across broad time and modal domains. Work capacity across broad time and modal domains. Modal domains is a really nerdy way of saying like everything, right? Like pick any activity you want. Could be sprinting, could be lifting weights, could be biking, could be doing jumping jacks, could be doing push-ups, could be doing pull-ups, could be doing combinations of all of those things, could be doing yard work in the backyard, moving mulch, moving a pile of dirt. It could be anything, right? We have to have work capacity across broad time and modal domains. The fittest people in the world can do just about anything, right? Just about anything. We can do it all. And we can all do it within a reasonable amount of time, right? Does that make sense? Okay, hopefully you're following me, right? Across broad time, modal domains. I'm gonna put one more in here, an age. Okay, that's important too, because these things can start to decline as we age. So a really fit person doesn't see the decline as they age, or at least they minimize it as much as possible. Okay, so it just kind of adds another little element there, but we want to make sure that we're factoring that component in. Okay, so the fittest person in the world has the highest work capacity across broad time, meaning it doesn't matter. I can sprint, I can go long distances, I can lift heavy stuff, I can lift light stuff, I can move this, I can do this, I can do all these things, no matter how long the time frame is, no matter what the modality is, and no matter how old I am. That's fitness. Okay, that is fitness. And we can measure this. I'm not going to get into it, but we can measure this precisely. There's a whole way we can do it using actual physics, right? But anyway, so this is how we define fitness, right? So how does fitness tie into health? And why do I think fitness is the most important thing when we're measuring health, and what we should be most aware of when we're talking about health? So even though we go to the doctor and get a wellness check, and they take our blood markers and they look at our, maybe you do a CAC scan on your arteries, like maybe they do all these things and they can give you some clues as to what your health looks like, but it's not the most important thing. And here's why I say that. So, I'm going to use a very simple graph. We're going to have time on the bottom. Okay, if we can see that, time on the bottom. And we're going to have fitness here. And I'm going to just keep it simple. We're going to call it work capacity. Okay, so hopefully it makes sense, right? So work capacity, what does your fitness look like, right? And I would say at this line right here, this is 0 work capacity. Okay, so it's like when you're born, right? So let's say this is time. This is when you're born, like right here, and this is when, this is when you're 100 years old. Let's say if you make it to 100 years old, right? So when you're born, you have, because you can move, you have a little bit of work capacity, right? Even just breathing is work, right? So your baby, you can, kind of move some things around. Your work capacity is very, very low, but there's a blip. You're alive, right? And then what happens as we get older? Our work capacity starts going up and 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 up, and we hit our teenage years, and then we hit our 20s and our 30s, right? And depending on what we're doing, like if we're exercising and we're active and we're doing all the right things, this can go pretty high, right? Like depending on the person, depending on what your life looks like, what your habits are, that can go pretty high. But there's always a time where this starts to decline, right? And it goes all the way to 0. Guess what happens right here? Guess what that is? It's dead. You're done. It's over. No more work. No more. Your body can no longer do anything anymore. That's dead, right? 0 work capacity, 0 fitness, right? This space under the curve is your health. Okay? That space under the curve is your health. If I were to, and everybody's going to have a different curve. But one of the ideas is, if we accept the fact that when we're at zero work capacity, we're dead, right? There are, before I get too deep, let me just finish my other thought here, but there are different curves, right? So let's say as a kid, you're born, and let's say you just sit a lot during your day, right? Somebody else's curve might look something like this, right? The point is, one of the things we want to do is we want to create as much space under this curve as possible for as long as possible. Because this is also like quality of life curve, right? Why would somebody's curve be here as opposed to here? What's the difference between these two people? And you can probably start, just by looking at this, you can probably start creating this picture in your head of who these two people are, right? This person might be the person that played video games every day, sat on the couch every day, maybe gained a lot of weight as a kid, became obese, right? Struggled with obesity and poor eating habits and sugar addictions and all kinds of stuff. And maybe they got diabetes somewhere in here. Maybe they started to get heart disease here, right? Maybe they were just never able to really pull themselves away from the zero, from the bad place, right? Somebody who's got this curve, what does that person maybe look like? This is somebody who maybe was an athlete, maybe took good care of themselves, maybe ate all the right foods, maybe never gained a lot of weight, maybe was very lean through their life, maybe they had some chronic disease somewhere through here, for various reasons we don't really know, right? But we can make an assumption that this person probably took better care of themselves than this person, and it's likely one of the reasons they've lived a little bit longer, because we hedge ourselves from the zero, right? The further we can hedge ourselves, the more of that buffer that we create, right? Not only do we have the capacity to potentially live longer, right? But we have the capacity to live a better life, right? What about the person who's like this? Who's way low. Think of that person as maybe the person who's in a wheelchair, right? Very low work capacity, maybe paraplegic, quadriplegic, right? Can't really move, can't really do much. Maybe they go to the doctor and they have great blood markers. Maybe the blood pressure's good and no sign of diabetes, no sign of cancer, like everything looks good, like you're good. But would you consider that to be healthy? And I would say no, and no fault of their own, no blame, because that's an unfortunate situation. That's just not, that's just getting a bad lot of it's bad parents if you're born with that type of condition, right? But I would say that's unfortunate because you miss all the opportunity and you're very fragile. And when you're very fragile, when you don't have a lot of room under that curve, it doesn't take much for you to die, right? So this is why your fitness has so much to do, arguably is the most important thing when it comes to your health. I'll give you an example. Like, there was a girl I knew who was extremely fit. She was extremely fit. Her curve looked, her curve was like this, and then all of a sudden she had this, and then went way back up. Okay, and this happened when she was probably about 25. And you know what happened there? She got in a terrible car accident. Terrible. Broke her back, broke her pelvis, broke every friggin' bone in her body. Should have died. Should have died. We speculate she was just so fit. She was muscular and strong, and just she was amazing, high level athlete. She had so much space under the curve that she had so far that she could fall without just going to dead. That I think that's what saved her. And then the interesting thing was she was able to climb her way back. She had to learn how to walk again, like all these things. It was a gradual climb back, but she was able to get herself back into amazing shape. Right? So, and this could be anything for anybody. It's not to say, it's not a guarantee that you're going to live a long life. Right? There's no guarantees on length of life. There's only guarantees on quality of life, for the most part, because you're responsible for the quality of your life and how well you take care of yourself, right? You're responsible for your health. So, she was able to really hedge herself away, and had she not done all that work, if she was the person who is here, what are the chances she would have died? Really good, right? Really, really good. Right? So, I'm on a mission. The only way you can get yourself up, the only way you can put maximum space under the curve. And here's what I really want it to look like for me. And this is 130 years old. That's what I want for me. And the only way we can make all this space under the curve, the only way we can really maximize that is if we do three things consistently for a lifetime. Number one, eat good food. Make sure your nutrition is really, really good. Take care of what you're putting in your body. If you want all this space under the curve and you want all this opportunity for a very long time, you got to make sure you're eating good, right? That's important. That's a fundamental pillar of good health, of being able to push that line way up, to be able to hit some of these potentials. Because if I eat like crap and I just exercise, I'm not going to hit that, right? If I'm eating like crap and I'm busting my ass in the gym every day, I'm gonna maybe look like this, but I could be missing out on a lot of opportunity here. Does that make sense? Right? So nutrition is big, fitness is big. You have to do work. You have to consistently try to build your work capacity. And when you pair that with good nutrition, that gives you maximum space under the curve. Right? And what is the third thing? What is the third thing that we need to really focus on? There's probably four, actually, but I'm going to talk about three. The third one is sleep. Make sure you're resting. Make sure you get enough sleep in your day. If you're only sleeping 4 hours a night, that's going to affect, right? You're not going to have the energy to be able to get yourself up there. You're going to be missing out on opportunity, right? So those are the three things that we bring in that have the biggest impact on your health. And if you believe this model, if this model makes sense to you, this is the thing that we need to concern ourselves with, right? This is what we need to concern ourselves with. Not our cholesterol, those are important, but those are signs. Those are signs of either a decline here, something's going down, right? If you were way high and then, the only way you're going to get really high is if your nutrition is really good, but if your nutrition has been poor, you're going to start getting coronary artery disease, that line's going to start coming down. And if you don't fix it, you're going to get here fast, right? So those metrics, they're useful, but they're not what's put space under the curve. Okay? So hopefully that makes sense. And then the last thing is just mindset. You have to think good thoughts. You have to be a positive person. You have to believe that this is possible. I had a time in my life. I was an athlete in high school and an athlete in college, at least for a little while in college, a couple of years in college. So I had this, and then college hit, and then I started getting really into drinking, and I started bringing my body down fast. I was gaining weight. I was drinking a lot of alcohol, eating a lot of bad foods, had a lot of negative thinking. So in my 20s, I started to decline quickly. And then I got cancer somewhere around here. And then I had a surgery, a major surgery. Then I had another surgery. And then I decided to change my life, and I decided to get myself back into good health, back into good shape. Started eating really good, started sleeping good, started thinking good thoughts, changed my life 100%, 180-degree transformation, and started rebuilding. And I got myself way up, way back up. And I've actually gone higher than where I was originally. This is my curve. You know, and I believe that had I not done some of this time in my earlier years, I was growing up, this stuff might have killed me. I might not have made it. I might not be here right now. Right? And had I not had this mental shift in my brain to start getting shit right, I might have just kind of stayed. Right? Or even over time, slowly declined. So hopefully all this makes sense, and I can keep drawing these curves over and over again. I challenge you, draw your own curve. What does your curve look like? You know, what does your curve look like? What does your health curve look like? All right, there you go. Hopefully this finds you well. Hopefully this all makes sense. This is me getting super philosophical and super nerdy. And just in full disclosure, I did pull the definition of fitness. I got to give credit where credit's due, from a gentleman named Greg Glassman. He's the founder of CrossFit. So it turns out a lot of controversy around this gentleman, but he did do the fitness industry a service of talking a lot about fitness and actually creating a definition. So I did, in full disclosure, completely use that definition in this. But it wasn't until he had laid that out for me that it was clear what I wanted to do, what I needed to do for myself, and what I wanted to help others achieve. It was him that gave me clarity on what it meant to be fit and what it meant to be healthy. So I want to give him credit where credit's due. Again, I know he's a controversial figure. He's gotten himself in a lot of trouble, but he did give that to the fitness world. So anyways, hope this finds you well. And look, if you have any questions on this, let me know. Hit me up in the comments. If you want help on any of this stuff, this is what I do for a living. I make people healthy. That's what I do. You know, everybody's like, are you a fitness coach? And I'm like, no, I'm a health coach. Because we have to bring all of these things together to put space on the curve, right? And the guys that I work with, they're interested in this. They have families, they have reasons to live, they enjoy their life, they want opportunity, they don't want to sit near zero. You know, most of my guys are busy professionals, they've let themselves go a little bit, the curve's been declining, and they're like, look, it's time to get things changed. And we work together closely to make that change. Because this is the most important thing that you have. This is your most important asset. It's not your money. It's not even your time. It's this, because you don't know how much time you got. But you better make sure that the time that you do have on this planet, you've got all the opportunity. You know. All right, there you go.